Alright, today's lesson is about modeling characters. So we will start with the head and we will look at how we can model a head. So just to give you an idea of what we work on, for example, something like this. Alright. So when I model this character, I started off with the head, and also when whatever that I model, I would always model a human head first, because that's how when I model such kind of characters, I will look at it. But again, if let's say if I were to model something more towards a particular animal, then I would need to do research on that animal and model according to how it is. All right, based on its muscles and based on its the animal's anatomy. So in this case, most of my characters are more humanoid. So that is where I'm gonna just show you real quick on how I can do that. Okay, so first of all, it would be always good to have reference images, any kind of reference images, particular with the front and the side profile. And one of the things that I always advise is that the images should be sized correctly in Photoshop based on the front and the side profiles. This is so that when we put them back in Maya, we would have almost correct, if not just a little off, and we can easily fix that with our skill tool in Maya. Alright, so just to give you a quick reference on what we should look out for example, if I were to move my character or my reference image, okay, and put it close, I need to check whether if they're on the right level. If they are not, I need to either resize them or I need to bring them up even more. Alright, so if I look at this, there's always some discrepancies that you will have when it comes to reference image. So try to use your best judgment, especially when you are working based off a drawing. You will really need to use your eye judgment and put them for your modeling reference. Okay, so right now I'm not going to use any reference for the time being, well, for now, as because I will be showing you on really how to model out a head, and you can base that head and adjust it according to your reference image. So I'm not gonna stick to just a reference image. This is just a technique on how to create a head. Alright, so as you would all know, we would start off a head with a cube. Oops, sorry. Okay, and I'm gonna just adjust him to 5x5x5 or 4x4x4, whichever you preferred. And just so that you remember, everything should be in 0, 0, 0, point of origin, because we will model only half. And the next thing that I would always do is set this to for the width, height, and depth divisions. Okay, so before we go about modeling our head, couple of things that we should understand before we move on. And the very first thing is always when I tell my students to model a character or something animal, we should always look at its most basic form. And when we look at this, alright, when we look at a head, what is our most basic form? And it is pretty much the skull. So the skull is going to tell us a lot of things, right? So first of all, when I look at this, let me just get a color. Okay, so when I look at the skull, what I would always ask is what are the things or how many blocks it needs to create a real basic sculpting, such as a form. So when I look at it in squares or in rectangles, I tend to use this as a reference. Okay, so I kind of draw it out. Okay, so this is the back of our head. So that is one. Okay, and then I'll continue to draw, and that will be my second head. Sorry, second part of the head, the front, right? And then I will have my last block, and this will be my third square or third rectangle. And as you would know, this would then be our neck, which is we are not going to talk about it right now. We're just going to talk about based on the skull. So I have three from based on the side profile. So going back to Maya, all right. So looking at this, right, I'm going to head over to my side view. I'm just going to move it up real quick so that it will be easier to see. And I will be deleting away these faces. Okay, so just based off my what I have here, I have the front, the back of the skull, and my lower jaw. Okay, so that is three. So looking back in Maya, I will have my front, my back, and my lower jaw. Okay, so then I would base on my reference and start really just looking at where the front is, and again, because we are creating a character, so what we really want to do is to get everything rounded. Okay, so maybe the head is a little too big. I want it to be much slimmer. And again, since we are creating a head, our head is not really flat and not our body as well, so I need to make sure that all my edges are gonna be more or less rounded. Okay, so I'm just gonna scale this area. Again, we are not trying to get 100% accurate. We're just gonna get as close as possible. If you have good image, usually you are able to get that. I'm just gonna move this a little back and okay. Okay, so let's say I have something like this already. Alright. Okay. And of course, right now it is not gonna look much. Okay, it's not gonna look much. So the next thing that I need after I have created something like this, right? The next thing I need is my neck. And often I would again ask my student what's the shape or what's the basic form of a neck, and obviously it's cylinder. And if it is cylinder, we often need to think of what makes a cylinder, right? Because if I were to base on the face earlier and just extrude downwards just like that, it's not gonna work. So we need to think through what makes a cylinder a cylinder. So looking at cylinder, okay, one of some of the things that I would kind of think of is kind of stupid, but it works. Is that all edges are gonna point towards one vertex, so that makes it a cylinder. So in this case, I would select the entire area. Okay, and I will extrude inwards. Okay, so if I were to go inwards and I extrude one more time, that will make it look very much like a neck. So in this case, I'm just gonna scale it outwards for a little while. Okay, and extrude once more. Okay, so after I've extruded this, I would need to fix this. Okay, I need to make sure that this will not give me as much trouble as it is. So I need to fix this and simply just get kind of the jawline and whatnot, and perhaps the neck a little bit. And like I've mentioned, we are not trying to get everything, all the details yet. We are just fleshing out the form. Okay. Okay, so once I have my form, I would again need to bring this out a little bit. Okay, as I've mentioned, we are creating a body. Okay, maybe I should do it on both sides. And just in case you do not know, we can always use reflection, okay, to work on it. Okay. Alright, so that looks kind of round, right? So that is what we are gonna do. And the next thing, of course, I need to remember to toggle your reflection off. Okay, make sure that it's off. As because we are just gonna model half the head itself. So once you're done, pretty much this is the lowest form of a head, right? And in a lot of handheld games, this probably would be your character. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is to go to mesh, and we're gonna go to smooth option, and let me hit resets. Okay, so we just need one. Hit smooth, sorry. Okay, so once we have a smooth, this is gonna look very much more like a head now, right? So immediately I will have a nice rounded head for me to sculpt. So the next thing that I want to do is go to my front view. Okay, since this is at 0, right, I can easily select half of it and backspace it. Again, of course, I can work with the reflective toggle or the reflective function, but most of the time I don't use it. I can see its usefulness, but again, it's really your preference. So the next thing that I would want to do is duplicate special. Okay. Make sure it's an instance, and based on my axis, it would definitely be -1 on the z-axis, x, y, and z-axis. Alright, so now that I have my instance, okay, I can do whatever I want, and it will still move the same way. Okay. Alright, so the next thing that I would want to do is, because after I smooth it, there are still some maybe forms that I can work on, like the neck itself and whatnot, but I'll leave it towards the end, or leave it towards later. Okay, so the first thing that I would want to do is really to create the eye section, or the eye socket. So first of all, I would always I would always use my split polygon tool, okay, to create the edge for the nose, okay, because essentially when I look at this would be my lower jaw, okay, lower jaw, if you could remember, right? and this would be my forehead, and this entire piece would be for my eye. And if you have followed my tutorial on the horse, you would understand that most of the time we need like 4 faces to create a nice looking eye. So this is what we are gonna do. So first of all, just create an edge for the nose, right? And then I'm gonna split it across to somewhere there. Okay. Now again, I'm not too concerned where my edges are going at this point of time. All I really care is where I'm separating my edges. Okay, so once I have that, right, I will again start building my eye socket. And again, if you have followed my horse tutorial, they are similar in nature. And this is one of the best way to create the correct topology. And the reason why I built this again is, if we were to go back to the image of the skull, this is a circle, right? This is round. So we need to make sure that our eye socket is round in this case, right? So let me just do this real quick. Scale it. And again, if you want to take a quick look at if this is looking very much like an eye, I can just pop this in and bring this back a little, and this would very quickly give you a nice idea on, or a nice way of drawing out a character, right? This would definitely be quite easy to see with the line. This is the eye, this is kind of like the mouth area, right? So this is easy to read. So the next thing that I would do is to create an eye, right? And again, like my tutorial for the horse, I would always create as a separate piece. So I'm just going to create a plane. Alright, have a 2x2 divisions for the width and height. And we are gonna we are gonna start splitting. And again, this tutorial for the eye itself is exactly the same as what I did for the horse. The way to do it is the same. Okay, so once I have something like this, again, I would just really quickly form the shape of the eye. Right. And again, if you have reference images, this would be much better. It would help a lot. And for you who, if you are interested in creating portraiture, sculpture, or whatnot, you definitely would need to have a good reference image. Okay, so once I have something like this, right, I'm just gonna delete away these 4 faces. Alright. Now, before we do anything, there are some steps that I will need you to flesh out the shape, okay? Because a lot of times I see my students not doing this, and they get really blocky eyes. So we need to move this. Again, it does not need to be drastic, just something subtle will do. Kind of just imagining this to wrap around, right? Okay, so that we can get something like this. This is how the side of the eye looks like, or the side of the character will look like. So this is what we're trying to get. And we would always again use a spear as our guide later on, but at this point of time I'm just trying to get the shape of my eye correct. I'm getting all the detailed information to my eye before I start using the spear as a guide. Okay, so just a quick recap on what we can do with or model the eye based on my last tutorial on the horse. Okay, so the first thing that I would want to do is to imagine as a layer. Okay, extrude inwards. Okay, this will form the thickness of our eyelids. Alright, so the next thing that I would want to do, I prefer really to create, is the tear duct. So again, I'm just going to use a insert edge loop and just insert right there. Okay. And looking at this, often again I ask myself whether if this is enough, and if I were to form the shape of the eye, nah, this is not going to be enough. So I just have to add a little bit more. So I'm just going to add 2 more, and this would definitely help create the shape for my eye, for my eye socket, or for my eye itself. Okay, so let's say you have you are satisfied with your eye. All right, and perhaps let me just make this a little bit smaller. Okay. Okay, so the next thing, after I get the thickness of my eyelid, okay, so the next thing would be to form the tear duct. So to form the tear duct, I would use my append to polygon tool. Okay, just to create a polygon here. And now I select the edges of my eyelids again, sorry, of my inner eyelids, and extrude inwards. Okay, and extrude one more time, and we're going to scale it all the way down. Alright, and do a merge vertices. Okay, I'm going to merge it all the way in. So just to take a quick look at what we have done here, and also I need to really flatten this out so that it looks much better. So again, this is just based on a very simple eyelid, and if I were to turn it to smooth preview, it's gonna look something like that. And definitely this tear duct is not enough. If you want to do more, you can again select that face, extrude, okay, just a small little one, and bring it out. Okay, that would help define your tear ducts eventually, be it it's based on a small it's based on low poly, or if it's going to be based along the lines of a high poly detailed model. Okay, so again, do not forget to smooth edges, or smooth their normals. You can find it in normals, soften edge. Okay, so looking at this, if I were to turn on my smooth preview, okay, alright, so this works as kind of a base. This is definitely not going to be done yet, because there are quite a number of stuff that we need to work on, like creating the actual eyelids and getting the right topology and whatnot. Alright, so moving forward, I'm just gonna go back to my front view and Now I'm gonna bring these guys really inwards so that I will have enough space to insert that to my character. Okay, and the next thing is again we need to now create a sphere. Alright, and I'm gonna lower this down to maybe 8 by 6. This should be enough. Okay, bring it back. And what I usually do is base along the lines of the thickness of my eyelids. This would give me a good idea on whether if it is gonna fit my eyeball, right? So some of the things that you just need to take note. Again, it's my own personal preference. Just make sure that it's sitting perhaps along this thickness. So this will give you a good reference. Alright. So once that is done, okay, I'm gonna delete history. Just gonna duplicate one. Move it out, go to my front view and put it around there. I'm just gonna scale it down. Now again, this is based on character anatomy and whatnot. Again, one of the rule of thumb, or if you have learned about drawing anatomy, one of the things is the distance between both eyes should be about 1 eye or 1.5 maximum. Okay, so this is generally a good size. If you want it to be slightly bigger, it's by all means. But of course, if again you have reference images, please use them. Okay, maybe I'll just go bigger and done. Alright, and now let me just get rid of that. Just gonna use this. So on my character, I'm gonna select the 4 faces, right, and delete them off so that I can put my newly created eye socket. And again, if you have reference, this would be much easier. Okay, and what I would normally do also is just really rotate a little bit, not too much. Okay, again, depending on the kind of head that you have, you might or might not need to do this. Okay, so the next thing that I would need to do, again, for some people, they would prefer to immediately combine the objects and merge the vertices, but I prefer to just snap to these points first. Okay, and the reason is because so that I can always add additional points, or I can fix the topology on the main head without compromising or having to have mistakes on where to put my edges and so on and so forth. Okay, so again, this is really based on preferences. Okay, so once I have fitted the points to where they are, right, I can start to look at this. So I can tell that there are some points that I need some additional points, so I'm just gonna add them to that for the time being. And usually I'm not too uh, particular about where the points are initially. Okay. So once that is done, the next thing of course to do is to select the two objects, combine, select these vertices around the eye, or usually I would just do this full selection, and use your merge vertices options, and I would use the lowest value available, hit merge, and again do check. Alright, do check that they are really merged. Alright, so once that is done, you'll notice that the other half of my head is gone. Whenever you would combine separate objects, that's gonna be what happens to the opposite side. So what I again will do is duplicate special. Alright, and let's kill the history. Okay, too much history is not too good. It may lag out the computer, and in my case, because I'm doing a recording, so it's gonna be worse for me. Alright, so once I have my character with my eye, right, the next thing that I would always do again is to shape my eye. Okay, because as you can tell, this is not looking quite right. So perhaps I will need to move this back a little. And really, if I were to want to create eyelids that closes and opens, most likely I'll need an extra division or extra edge. Okay, so before I do that, let me just kind of fix this up real quick. Okay, and let me draw it out, split polygon. And I'm just going to create one right there. And this itself would really help not only to create that closing and opening, but it can also help shape my eye, right? So again, do not forget that we are creating a character, and the side of the eye, again, we need some space for it. Okay, so the next thing, obviously, sorry, before I do that, I'm going to fix this as well. Okay, so the next thing obviously is to create more edge loops. Okay, so I'm just going to create one more, and bring this out. And at the same time, when I look at this, I need to check whether if I need to fix this. And also for my forehead, maybe I want to bring out my forehead. Okay. And again, once you do that, remember to soften edge just to take a quick look. because oftentimes I get questions like, why is my model not looking as smooth? Of course, we are not going to use our smooth function that often, so we would always want to go back and use your normal soften edge tool. Alright. Okay, so once that is done, this is a really simple, just an additional edge loop. So what I'm gonna do again, create a create a spear, polygon spear. Okay, bring it out. Maybe somewhere there. And again, do remember to lower it a bit. Having 10 or 8 is really dependent on what you need. Alright, so I'm just gonna name this Eyelid. Gonna hit my duplicates. Okay, and just putting a negative sign on the translate X so that it pops to the opposite. And gonna name this guy Eyelid. Select the two eyeballs or the spears, soften the edges, and create a layer for them. Eyes. Okay, so once we have that, this would be much better to work with. Okay, so let's continue to fix some stuff. So let's split polygon and just connect this together. Connect. And connect again. And maybe move this up a little bit. Alright, try to remember again to space them or distribute the edges. Try not to clump them up too much. It's not really good for your topology. Okay, so looking at this, most likely I will need to add additional edges for it. Okay, so I'm just going to add one more. Alright, and perhaps this faces would go in. Okay, depending on how much you need. Again, this is if you have reference images, it would give you a better idea on what you need. Okay, so okay, so the next thing that we are gonna work on is to create the nose. Okay, so again, looking at this character here, first thing that I would want to do is to cut where my nostrils are. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it right there. Okay, and again, we need to look at where our nostrils in fact really align with, and usually it's aligned with your tail ducts, if not more. It's a give and take kind of reference, so you will need to take a look again at your reference and see what you need. Seems that I'm missed out one point here. So alright. Okay, so the next thing that we would want to do is to get a line across. Right, so what I'm gonna do again, use my split polygon tool. Okay, cut it right there. So once that is done, I will select these faces up to where the point of you can select even higher if you want to, but normally this would be fine as it is around the eye area where it's connecting to your forehead. Okay, so I'm gonna select those faces and hit extrude and extrude forward. Alright, and again, before we start messing around with the nose, if I go to smooth preview, it's gonna look like this. And again, it's because there are faces behind when it's extruded, so do be aware and delete them away. Okay, oops, I may have selected too much. Okay, so once you have that done, select this edge, okay, which is sitting right on top of the nose, backspace, and again go to vertex and delete off that. Right, so you're gonna get something like this. Okay, and of course at this point of time, if you want to fix it, of course you can. If you want to resize it or do whatever you want with it. Do go ahead and just fix it. So after this, the next thing that we would want to do is create an edge loop around. Okay. So with this edge loop, I can kind of make the nose just a little softer. Right, just a little softer. But looking at the nose, again, based on topology, it's not going to look correct. Okay, but at this point of time, we're just going to shape the nose at this point. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to take a quick look at the nose of a person, a real person, and it's also a good thing if you can go to the bathroom or even the restroom to take a quick look at how your nose really look like. So one of the things that we would often see is the nose is going to come down like this and it's going to be rounded, and this tip here, the tip of the nose, is going to go back. Okay, go back and come inwards, or sometimes we would always continue from here around. So this is how the line is going to look like, okay, or how the topology is going to look like. Okay, one round going and then go backwards and come down, right? So that is what we would want to achieve. So first off, we're gonna get our split poly. Okay, gonna go in the center, right? And we are gonna go again to where this tip is, or the mid section is, and end it right here for the time being. Okay, and again click on the mid section of this edge that we've just created and move it to the point. So what this is gonna do is I'm gonna move this down. Okay, and if I were to move this edge, you can tell that this is gonna be a loop. And now I can move this out to make it look better. Alright. So the next thing is, of course this is not done yet. Obviously I need to, this is 1 side, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-sided. So in fact what I need to do again, I can create something like this, and again this is just to make it better, but usually I don't really do this until the end. Okay, so then this edge here can drop a little and then move it out. Alright, so from this you can generally tell how the nose is gonna look like. Alright, but next thing is we will have a problem is here, right? Because we can tell from this image that it's gonna come down, okay, and it will connect to this side of where your mouth is gonna be located. Alright, so we will need to kind of, in a way, perform or draw out the topology first. So what I usually do is, before I do that, I would want to again fix the nose before we do anything. Okay, so let's take a quick look at what we need. Okay, so let's say we have something like this already. Alright. Extrude inwards. And just kind of locate it. And of course our nose is gonna be round. Okay. So kind of just fix the shape to whatever you need. And now I'm just gonna select these two again, extrude just in a little bit. Okay, just a little bit, bring it up, and then extrude one more time, going inwards. And this itself will really be pointed towards, so we're just gonna merge our vertices right there. Alright. So once that is done, again, soften edge. And of course, if you need to add more, you can always do that, add more details to it later. You can always do that easily. And let me just fix this a little bit. Because this is really popping inwards. So generally, again, depending on your reference image, it may look good or it may look really bad. Okay, so once that is fixed, we are gonna work on how to create the part where it's slide off, right? Okay, so looking at this is gonna follow, right? So go to your split poly, okay, and I'm gonna look at how I can do this much easily. Okay, so perhaps one good way is to, I will start with this point here, create a point, create another point. Now what I'm drawing is really drawing where they will be connected, and again depending on what you need. So I'm just going to draw something like this, okay, and right now it's not going to make any sense, right? Okay, so the next thing that I would want to do is I can go back to my split poly tool. Alright, point this to there. Okay, again this is just to give me a general guide on how I can do this. It's not it's not definitely that you need to create. So again, before I go into that, I need to, before I forget again, I need to look at where the mouth is. Okay, so this is where the mouth is gonna be. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull it up first. Alright, and then I will need to split here, and I'm gonna bring that back in. Alright, so coming back here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is perhaps I do not need this after all. It's just easier for me to bring this up so that I can tell what I need to do. Okay, so I'm gonna use my split poly again. Okay, and this time I'm just gonna bring this up to here so that I can see what's going on. And looking at this, this is definitely not what I want. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring it there. And looking at this, I might even want to bring it a little further. So this is where I'm going to bring it. Okay, and the reason is because I need to open and close my mouth. Okay, so once I have this, right, and again you find that sometimes your topology or your thing is always changing. It's fine, alright, it's no big deal. And of course some people would have might have already found out a way to really model it really consistent. Okay, so the next thing would be really to select this area. Okay, scale inwards, select the center, and I'm gonna go back to my front view, vertex, and basically it's just snap to grid. Okay, so now I have my first and perhaps that's not going to be enough. Okay, I'm just going to move it. Okay, just going to move it down a little bit. So select these guys again, extrude inwards, select the center, delete those off, snap to grid. Probably should do it in front. Okay, snap to grid, snap to grid, and snap to grid. Alright, and again, because this is too close, so what you can do is probably only these ones. Okay, so you can use your slide edge tool and middle mouse drag. Okay, so once I've done that, so the next thing that I need to do is bring this closer. Okay, and I'm just gonna do it one more time, perhaps even 2 times even, but you'll slowly get the idea. So, and again, some people would prefer to do the mouth as a separate piece, and if if you prefer that, by all means. Okay. And one of the tricks to creating a mouth really is that if you understand that the mouth is really rounded, so that means if I were to, just to give you a kind of drastic example, is if I were to move this all the way back and take that out, and this would look much like a mouth, right? And a lot of my students were asking, how do I make a mouth and this and that, but basically it's just a form that is not correct. Once you get a form right, you should get a mouth. And also I have this edge coming down. I should also fix that, and to show you really what we can do with this edge. So let's say I am gonna go around my head. Okay, now to my throat. So what really this guy can do for us is, so let's say I will end it around there. Okay, and puck my point there, turn it into a chord. And what this can do really is if your character is a guy, you can give it an Adam's apple and whatnot. Kind of something like this. And again, make sure to soften edge. Alright. So based on this, right? So right now what we want to do is really extrude inwards. Oh, not good. Extrude inwards. And I'm just gonna delete that off. Okay. And of course, if I were to look at this currently, the mouth is pretty fine at this point of time. And definitely not for this one here. Okay, and of course the inside is not going to be enough. So we will need to insert some edge loops inwards. And looking at this, perhaps I'll just bring this down. And again, depending on what kind of lips that you have, you need to work according to that. And again, we need to distribute this better. And definitely we need to fix that up later on. Alright. Okay, so this is kind of how you would get the mouth out, and definitely you would want to give it some thickness. And again, modeling is really just pulling and forming the shape. So let's say you prefer to close its mouth, right? And at the same time, just remember again, this pretty much forms how our mouth looks like, so we need to really make sure they look correct. And raise my slight edge to okay, so drag your middle mouse button to slide the edges. Alright, so pretty much we got this area done. Okay, so we need to fix this along the nose. Right, so when I look at this, a lot of times I'll ask myself whether what is needed and what is not needed. So that will give me generally a good idea on what I really need to work on. Okay, so looking at this, for example, this area here, will it be better if I would create additional divisions and whatnot? So perhaps if I were to look at this, right? Sometimes I would experiment, okay? And again, if you're not too sure on what is needed, like I've mentioned, one good way is to experiment. Okay. And let's say for something right here. Okay, so let's say I'm gonna use my split poly. And I'm gonna look at whether if I even needed this. Okay, that doesn't look right. Did I? Yeah, I think I did. Okay, so perhaps what I really need to do is from here, okay, and then I'm gonna take away this one, okay, and at the same time move this back a, oops, back a little bit. Okay, so immediately I'm gonna get this triangle, and so I'm gonna take away that and delete some of the vertices. Okay, so looking at this, I'm just gonna go all the way in. Okay, so I'm gonna look at this and probably snap to that point. Okay, merge the vertices. Okay, right. So having that triangle, I'm just gonna take a quick look. So having that triangle seems to be fine. And of course, if we want, we can always add one more down. Okay, so the next thing is to move this and So something like this is definitely fine because we can add again we can add additional divisions if we need for our chin. Okay, so let me just move this back a little and look at this again. So now we have this, we can look at if we even need this, right? So now I can delete away the vertex here. Okay. So the next thing, of course, I'm just gonna leave the 5-sided first because we need to work on something else. And because we can actually form another shape. Okay, so what I can do is split poly. This goes to this. Alright. And split poly again. Oops, sorry. This goes to this. Alright. And split poly again. Oops, sorry. And I can bring this there. Okay. So before I forget, this would go across. Just gonna leave it there first. And okay. And at the same time, if you want to fix up your cheekbones or whatnot, you should really do so at this point of time, just to enhance the shape better. Alright, so let me do that again. Okay, so once you have fixed up these areas, let me just do a quick one. Okay, so once you have fixed up these areas, we are just gonna take a quick look at the year. Alright. So looking at the year, okay, it's gonna be at the side, and if I were to open up my year image, I have a year right here. Okay, so I'm just gonna base it along the year. And one of the things that I would always advise my students is to the year may look difficult, but you want to really base it along something like a platform. For example, just gonna new layer. Okay, so the red region is gonna tell us that this is basically the topmost platform or the topmost layer, and then we will have the second layer, which is around here. Okay, so this region is the second layer, including this small part here. Okay, and and the third layer is whatever that is, the rest. Okay, so just looking at this, we will just work on it based on that logic. Okay, so looking at the ear, I'm gonna use a plane, create plane. Okay, and I'm gonna use my X-ray mode. So I'm just gonna place it right there, and start really fixing it in a way. Okay, and select the edge, extrude, extrude again, extrude. Now you don't really need a lot of divisions, so you really need to control the divisions that you need, that you would want to put in, because again, when we do modeling, we are modeling from low poly, right? So I would put it till here, and looking at this, because this is going inwards, so I need to make sure that my topology is moving the right way. And again, based on how much details you need, then you would increase accordingly. Okay, so I'm just gonna end it somewhere around there. Right, I'm not gonna turn into a loop or something. So based on this, I am gonna append to polygon tool between here and here. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I can just fix up the shape again. Okay, so now that I have this shape, this is pretty much my top layer, as you can tell. And let's say for this shape, I want, again, if there is a need, I would just increase the divisions just to get a nicer poly curve. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is extrude inwards. Okay, so select the edges inside, extrude inwards. That would be our first layer. Okay, so go back to this view again. We are going to look at the second layer. Okay, so it's pretty much all the way from here to there. So we need to look at from this edge to this edge, right? So we are not going to extrude it anymore. What we want to do really is just to use append to polygon tool. Okay. Okay. And of course this is not enough, so again, I'm not too concerned with where my points are at this point of time. Let's see where, again, my append to polygon tool from this point to that point. Okay, go back to my side view again and fix up the shape. Again, if we need to, we can increase it if you need be. Okay. Okay, so once that is done, sorry, we actually have one more, which is this piece. So we need to extrude it out just a little bit. Okay, and make sure again to delete this back face. Okay, and now select the rest. Okay. And we are gonna extrude inwards again. This is our third layer. Okay, so as we are doing so, we also need to extrude this one last time. So we extrude to somewhere there. Okay, because I know that it's gonna end up at the sides, right? So first of all, I'm gonna delete that edge and this edge. Okay, delete away these vertices. Okay, and of course we will need to delete away those vertices as well. Okay, so delete away these vertices. So I'm getting a triangle, and I will move this downwards. Do something like this, right? And at the same time, you might really want to pull these guys out just to give it some additional form. And later on you'll see how the form will look like. Okay, so once I have something like that, I will need to move some of this point. So let me just move this slightly to the outside. Okay. So now I can move this point, snap it to that, and let us just take a quick look. Okay. So once I snap to those points, I would then mesh the vertices, make sure that it's lowest value. Okay, and do a quick check by clicking it once and moving it. Okay, so that works. So now what I really need to do is to append to polygon. So append to polygon, this edge to that edge. Okay, and do it again for these places. This perhaps, and one more from here. This, and one last one from here. Oops. Okay. So again, soften edge, and this is really what you need. And if you were to look at a smooth preview, okay, this is what we're gonna get. And obviously there's some mistakes here that we need to fix. So now it should look better. Alright, and of course if that is still not looking good, it's because of this awkward looking angle, so we would need to fix that by putting an extra triangle. Again, if you need to turn it into a triangle, please, by all means. Alright. Of course, we are not done yet. We need to create the thickness of the ear, and we know that this is going to be sticking, right? So based on that, it would be from here. Select, and probably up to that point, and we're gonna extrude inwards. Okay, once, and then extrude again. But this time we are gonna scale it inside. Okay, and again, if you want to take a look, so in its most preview, it's gonna look not bad at all. Okay, and of course, if you want to create much more randomness, or in a way inconsistency, you can always pull these guys out. Okay, so now it looks a little bit more fleshy. Alright, so anyway, back to this. Because this is going to be sticking to the part of the head, and this is really too much poly counts, so what we usually would do is okay, so what usually we would do is to merge the vertices for some, because they can't really tell from the back most of the time. So let's just do a quick one. Merge vertex. So I'm just gonna merge into something like this. Okay. And of course, if you need to merge even more, really, it's not a big deal. Oops. All right. So once that is done, we're gonna move this guy to the side of the head. Scale it down. Okay. And really it's just gonna be aligned to our eye. Okay. And if you again have reference image, it's best to use it. Okay, so the next thing would really be looking at this and how I would fix it. So I need to create this chunk here first for the ear. So looking at where it is, I'm gonna put it across to something like this. Alright, and then the next thing I would do is to select this 4 faces, extrude inwards. Okay, so this is to give us a good idea where the ear is gonna be. Okay, and turn this into something more like that. And this is exactly the same as how we had created the eye for it. Okay, so after that, select your ear, rotate a little, rotate a little, okay, based on your reference image. Okay. This should be fine. So again, if you find that it's difficult to put out the points, you can really just pull them out and then you can fix that later on. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this instead. Let me just kill the history for both objects. Okay. So if really this is gonna be sticking there, we have to think whether if we really need this at all. So let's say for instance this and this, really we don't need it, right? So for this we can merge the vertices. Okay, and pin it there. Pin it right there. Okay, and again, if this one is really not needed, can pin it as 1. Okay, so looking at this, I have 2 that I would need extra, so what I'm gonna do is do a split poly. Okay. Point. Snip the point. Okay, so once that is done, select both, mesh combine, and then merge the vertices. Oops, sorry. Selected too many of them. Okay, so only select those 2. Combine. Merge vertices. Okay, and then now we will move the year back. And definitely we will need to make this smaller. Okay, smaller. And also one of the better things to do that I would do is to create a circle around it. So this is to kind of help in case we need to do additional changes to it. And also this is to help to make sure that give it some kind of a space. And last but not least, because this is still an illegal face, so we will need to split poly, and just gonna put it right there. And for some of this, sometimes when we look at this, we would also ask whether if we really need certain things to be that manner. So in this sense, I would split poly, move up, and go to this. Topology wise, it's not going to be correct, and I probably need to fix it a lot more. But at this point of time, this would definitely help. So right now you would have a very basic face, and definitely this you can fix it a lot more. But this is really basic structure of the face. There's a lot more that I can do in terms of topology wise and cleaning up. But again, it might take some time for me to do up this stuff. So just one last thing that I would add is you can always go to mesh, sculpt geometry tool, and try to smooth this. Okay. If you hold down your B key, and you can change the radius. M key will allow you to change the strength of the displacement. So those are right there anyway. So let me just do this. So this can help spread out some of your geometry, if you will. It can help somewhat. Alright, but of course certain areas you need to fix it yourself. Alright, so this is on creating the head, and definitely you would need to fix this more. As you can probably tell, some of the areas are not looking all that right. Alright, but this is how you would form a head relatively, one of the methods that I would often use. Alright, thank you for watching.